Hey everybody, welcome back to another Krita class tutorial. Today I want to go over how to make a webcomic specifically for Webtoons. Now, for transparency purposes, I've never used Webtoons, however I know it's a very popular site for webcomics, and they do have a particular size that you need to upload your comic to be because they focus on the scrolling part. Now, I'm sure that other web hosting sites will use or allow the similar size, and I'm pretty sure that you can do whatever other size you want for other web hosting or webtoon or oh my gosh, what do they call it, webcomic type sites. So for starters, the standard dimensions for Webtoons specifically is 800 by 1280 pixels. I'm doing a little bit of research. A lot of people were saying to use a larger canvas size because the compression rate of uploading to Webtoons is pretty bad. So by ensuring a higher resolution size you're working with, you can export at a smaller size and it'll just look much better. Like, you won't lose a lot of detail when you go to downsize it. It'll already be done and there'll be less issues when uploading. So, that being said, I already made my template page. I already set up my comic manager profile here. In the last video, I went over how to do everything. I'm not going to do it again. So if you want to know how to set up the comics manager template and everything like that and the file structure, go watch the Krita Class 301 video and you can learn in the very beginning how to set up your files and everything and make your own template. So for the image size, I'm going to just scale here so you can see it. It's about almost 11 by 17 inches, and the pixel size that I'm using is 32 width and 120 height. I also wrote that down here, so you want to screen grab that or quickly jot it down on a piece of paper or in your file. You can go ahead and do that. We're just gonna go over a couple ways to make our comic here that's a little bit different than the first video when making our panels. So before we get into it too much, I want to sketch really quick just a rough layout using our little three-eyed toad, frog, whatever from the last video, and then I'll show you how to set up some different comic panels with a different method. And then because this is a webtoon or a webcomic, there's no margin that's needed, so we don't have to worry about keeping within a certain space and worry about bleed and cut lines and things like that. I will say if you want to print this later, you might want to take that into consideration and maybe do some reformatting, or at least make sure that your main important elements of your comic are not too close to the edge. So if you do plan to print this later, like maybe you want to take this Webtoons layout and print it like a poster or something, like you can do like a one-page poster, which might be fun or something like that. You can do that. For now, I'm not going to worry about any of that, and I'm just going to use the full canvas. Alright, so I'm going to get started with my little toad sketch here, and I will see you in hopefully a couple minutes.
Find your way into this wonderland. Cross the maze, the dark, the innocent. Chase the faith, the thrill, the heaven sent. I got you wild upside down. The labyrinth will guide you far away to a place where senses will decay. Your ghost and mind will shadow play. I got you wild upside down. Find your way. The labyrinth will guide you far away to a place where senses will decay.
Okay, so we have our little comic here. I kept the story really simple, nothing crazy. Again, just trying to make one page, start to finish, something or others to make the tutorial go faster. So we're not making a full-blown comic here. It's basically a three-eyed toad leaving the graveyard, hopping around, meets a zombie, a warty witch, running around with the ghosts, and he goes home to his family. You know, very simple, nothing very exciting, but you get the idea. Alright, so as before though, we are going to use the shape tool, make sure this is black and white, and we are going to use fill. I'm just going to do that here. We can duplicate this layer, and we take our duplicate and convert it to a transparency mask. And we can actually put that transparency mask by using Control X and then making sure we're on our sketch layer and control pasting that there. And then here, it's going to actually turn that off. We can see, we now see that our transparency mask is working. It's blocking out everything outside the boxes. Now, the only downfall is you can't go and edit, like if you want to edit this, like if I go on the transparency mask and use my brush tool, and I want to get rid of things, I can just use the black color to get rid of it, and I can use the white to bring it back. It's not like super perfect. But if you want to go and add more panels, you're going to have to manually adjust this. However, if you're just doing something simple, you don't have any like major complicated panels or anything like that, you can just use the mask tool. I'm going to have to paint my top portion back in here. And there's that. So if I take this away, actually let me go ahead and hide that so we can actually see. Let's say I have some stuff in the background here. That's great. I'm going to turn that back on, and if I want to go paint it out again, I can use the black. Perfect. And this will just be for your liner. This isn't going to be for like your color. So if I wanted to add my color in here, just use a green for the witch. Can't really see. There we go. You can see that it's going to be outside of the boxes still. So if you wanted to, you can just copy and paste that transparency mask. So copy, and then we'll just paste it there. So now if I go outside it, it's only going to affect the areas that aren't painted out. So you can use that to clean things up and all that. Just going to turn it off. And if you wanted to, you could convert this to just a regular paint layer and just hit multiply to keep your borders, or you can just keep it a vector layer and then you can turn the fill off if you want it. I'm just gonna make sure it's still a vector. There we go. You can just do that by going to the fill and the tool options and hitting the little box with the X. And that way you can go and adjust things. Now, obviously, when you adjust your panels, you're going to have to either convert or duplicate that and make a new mask out of it, or again, fill it in here. What you can also do is we can duplicate this. I'm actually going to turn the fill back on. All right, so we've filled these boxes in. I'm going to actually put this underneath my line art. I'm going to delete the old transparency mask. And I'll put this underneath. And what I'm going to do is convert our copied vector layer, and I'm going to convert that to a selection mask. And that is going to automatically group itself with the above layer, which is our quote unquote line art. And it's going to make it transparency. So the nice thing about this is anything within the box stays, right? So we don't have to worry about anything outside it. So what we could do is we could, let's see, take our selection tool, we could invert it, hit the delete key and delete everything outside of it, which unfortunately includes our top panel. So if we did that, we could clean up our panels very easily. So if you don't want anything included here, We're gonna actually go back and invert that selection again. So we're only selecting what's inside the box. We're gonna go to our selection layer. We're gonna go to our selection box tool. We're gonna go to this one here. And this one is add. So we're gonna add to our, honestly, I would think it's subtract because I'm subtracting, but whatever, the add works. So we're gonna just use that to take away the mask for the top layer. We're gonna go back to our brush tool. So now we can see all the selection is everything in here. So if I want to keep drawing, let's say go back, I'm actually going to do this. And we're going to turn all this black so we can see this a little better. Not perfect, but get the idea. We're going to add some color. So this is our color layer. So we can actually copy this. Copy. We can paste that down to our color. And now going forward, or actually, now we pasted that to our color layer. You can actually invert the selection and hit the delete key, and then go back and invert again. And now everything is within the selection, and everything outside it we already deleted, so we won't have any color accidentally flying off out of the panels. If we want to go paint our little froggies here, I can do that and not worry about anything going outside the layer. So I'm not coloring outside the boxes. So that's an easy way to do it, and you can always modify the selection mask by just clicking on it, and you can go and actually just draw things back in if you want, using the white and the black colors. Otherwise, this is a very simple way to do it. That way you could, if you do want, like, if you're more concerned with drawing outside the boxes and cleanup and things like that, that's an easy way to do it. And if you're not like too concerned about having to revise your panels later on because you want to put that back in, yeah, that would be that. So let's see, I want to actually go and delete everything outside these panels. Beautiful. I'm gonna invert that one more time so we can go back to what we had before. So now we have our cleaned up comic. It has everything within the panels, nothing's outside it, it's very easy to manage. Can probably add a new layer for the white background if we wanted. Ooh, that's bright. Let's take that back off. But you get the idea. So that's just one way to do comic panels that's a little bit easier if you're just more concerned with cleanup and that's the only thing you care about. You're not too concerned about setting up clone layers and resizing your panels and things like that. And this is not like specific to Webtoons or anything like that. I just figured you'd try it out in a Webtoons format so you can kind of see what you can do with more flexibility and less concern about perfecting your boxes. Alright, so now that we have this set up and done, for Webtoons specifically, when you go to save it out, you don't want to save it out at this very high resolution size. So there's a couple things we can do. We can go to image and we can change the size to, let's see, what was it? What was the correct size? 800. Image, scale image to new size, and say the width is 800. And if you have this linked, it'll automatically go and revise the height. You can hit OK. We can go to File, Save As. I don't know what format it prefers. I'm just going to go with a JPEG for now. And I'm actually going to put this and manually save it in the export folder. I'm going to hit OK. And if you don't want to do it that way, I'm gonna open this page back up. The other way to export this, if you want to use the export comic option within the comics manager, this took a little bit of testing to see what the right percentage was, but go to your project settings and go to export under TIFF. We want to export to TIFF, but when we export it, we want to shrink it down to a certain size. So you can do that without any manual input, and you want to shrink it down 25% if you are using the exact file dimensions that I am using now. If you did not, I think I did 3 times or 4 times the size of the 800 by 1200, if you only doubled that, you might want to play around with the percentage to see what the right percentage would be to shrink it to get to the 800 by whatever size to upload to Webtoons. So you might have to do a little bit of tweaking to see what the right percentage is, but for this particular layout or document size, it would be 25%. And I'll show you. So if you go to your, I went to open, I went to my Webtoons little folder here that we made with the Comics Manager. I went to my export folder, I went to the TIFF folder. You can see I have a couple different files here. So this was me testing out the export percentage sizes that I want. That was me telling Krita, export this file at 25%, and that would be the smaller version. So these are all old. So I want the 800 by 1280. I'm gonna open that. We can confirm that by going to image and scale image to new size. That's perfect. It's exactly what we want for our Webtoons. So it's already shrunk down. It's perfect, you know, great. You can see that it's a reduced quality. So if I zoom in here, you can see how crisp those lines are. But zooming in here, there's a little bit of pixelation. It's because it's a smaller size now. But it's already set up to upload. So now you just have to go to your Webtoons account. I don't know how to upload there. I don't know how the process works, but if you do, that's great. That's basically how you prep your file to upload to a site like Webtoons. Now, every platform is going to have a little bit of a different system, so you'd want to do some research on that before you go and export and save out your final sizes. If you have multiple pages, let's say you want to upload 10 at once, you've already done 10 pages for your webcomic, you can go ahead and hit export comic and then you're done. You don't have to worry about manually resizing everything or manually saving anything out. And that is the beauty of the Comics Manager. And that's it for this tutorial. All right, if you have questions about exporting or changing the layers or anything like that I've gone over in this video, let me know in the comments below. I will do my best to answer. If you want to share what you're working on, you can join our Discord down below. There is a link. I have a Krita class channel specifically for these videos now. Otherwise, you can just hang out and talk art or whatever. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Krita class video, which will be about more about comic strips, which will be fun. Thank you for watching, and I will see you then.